Welcome into Bucs Insider, coming to you from the Bucs studio, presented by Ticketmaster. Casey Phillips here with Scott Smith and Bri Dix, and it is officially Combine Week, which is the week we watch a lot of things and know very little. That's always how it feels every year. But there's always some interesting things to pay attention to and to watch. And of course, for our purposes covering the team, one of the main things is getting to hear from Jason Licht and Todd Bowles as they speak. So, Bri, I know you were able to be there to listen in on some of their press conferences. So, starting with just that part, before we get into any of the workouts or interviews or everything else that goes on at the Combine, what did you feel like you learned from Coach and Jason?
Well, I loved, so both Todd Bowles and Jason Licht touched on the excitement surrounding Josh Grizzard as the offensive coordinator, that kind of internal promotion. And I like just how they talked about the excitement of the players, but I loved kind of the nickname that Jason Licht said that the players coined for him, and that's the Wizard. But I also thought it was interesting that obviously him being an internal candidate kind of was a draw in having some of that consistency, the verbiage, and kind of that continuity with the offense. But I also thought it was interesting that they pointed out that every other team in the NFL still has an entire year of tape on what the Bucs did this last season, the success that they had. So obviously this is a copycat league, so you're going to have to tweak some things, and this is kind of an opportunity for Josh Grizzard to kind of really put in some fresh ideas to kind of revamp the offense just a little bit. So I think that'll be exciting to see. And obviously he was in charge of third downs last year, and then the Bucs led the league in third down conversion rate. And then also just them touching on Chris Godwin. And I love that both Todd Bowles and Jason Licht said that, you know, basically if there's anybody to overcome a significant injury like this, it's him with his resiliency, his work ethic. And then, you know, they moved the void so that they have a little bit longer to work out a potential deal. And Jason Licht said, you know, they're hopeful that a deal can get done because obviously they said he means the world to this organization. And then kind of looking at Todd Bowles, when asked about kind of some of the things that he's looking for at the Combine, he said specifically on defense, he's going to be looking at edge rushers, inside linebackers, cornerbacks, and then he also threw receivers in there. But I loved, he kind of gave a little interesting tidbit, kind of looking back at this previous season on both Bucky Irving and Servasi Dennis. So on Bucky Irving was asking kind of about the whole draft process, and he said that initially when he came out of Oregon, they kind of were expecting him to be that outside guy to complement Rashad Wright with his quickness, get him in kind of the open field, have him do some more of the screen stuff. And then Todd Bowles said he completely surprised them because he ended up being a better inside runner between the tackles guy. And it was almost kind of opposite with Rashad Wright. So what he was able to bring with kind of that added dimension inside, and especially was kind of creative with some of those more counter gap runs where he went inside. But then Servasi Dennis obviously had that shoulder surgery, was put on IR, so didn't have a ton of playing time. But in that sample size, Todd Bowles said that other than with the exception of Levante David, he's the headiest zone player that they have on defense, and kind of was why he was in some of those clear passing situations on third down. But I think it's just exciting to see what he'll be able to do next year. They, you know, used him on blitz packages, and obviously just his prowess and coverage. So I thought that was some interesting tidbits from Indy. It was a little chilly. A little bit chillier than here. We touched down and I looked out and it looked like there was like ice and snow on the ground.
You're like, turn this plane around.
I'm not prepared.
Did you make it to Kilroy's?
I did.
There you go.
Yep. The sweet potato waffle fries, if you know, you know.
So Josh Grizzard's nickname is the Wizard?
Yes.
Shouldn't it be the Wizard?
I can't express to you that I've been thinking about saying that, and this is now 2 weeks in a row that you
This is getting scary.
have wanted to make
I feel like it
joke.
should. I think you should point that out.
So, yeah.
Grizzard the Wizard.
That was, I liked what he said about, I think it was Coach that said about Chris. Yeah. He's like, if you were to pick any player on the roster that you would believe could overcome this and get back to the same.
Yeah.
You know, I just think about him coming off the field on the card saying, back to work,
Back
John.
to work,
Yeah.
I think that we know he's already shown he knows how to come back from another one before this, and you don't want experience in any area like that, but he has experience in knowing what it takes to come back. So, all right, that was a little bit about what Coach and Jason said. We know that everyone internally says the most important parts of the Combine are the parts we don't get to see, unfortunately. The meetings and the medical is unfortunately the part we don't get to see. But we do get to watch a lot of the drills. We get to hear the guys being interviewed out on the podium some. So we did want to, for people who are going to have the TV on, watching some of those drills this week, who are some of the guys, as you just watch guy after guy after guy running the 40 or doing some of these drills, for people who are like, all right, as a Bucs fan, what should I pay attention to? What should I watch?
The fanatics that would actually be watching people run these drills at 3 in the
Yeah,
afternoon
who does that?
on a Thursday.
Not us. Not us at all.
So yeah, the actual, the combine starts on, I guess, Sunday or Monday.
Yeah.
But they don't actually do any player drills until Thursday, because the players go through like a 4-day rotation where they do the interviews and they do the medical and they do the interviews with the media, and then they do the workouts. And this is how it is. There's a schedule on the screen there. So you get the defensive linemen and linebackers on Thursday.
Today, right?
Yeah, that's today. DBs and tight ends, so we kind of make the transition there from defense to offense on Friday. The one everybody's waiting for, the receivers and running backs and quarterbacks on Saturday, and then the offensive linemen on Sunday. And I think you see the Thursday and Friday starts at 3, and then Saturday and Sunday starts at 1. So
of course, the offensive linemen have to go last and after the big fancy day of the quarterbacks and wide receiver, running back. That feels appropriate.
They do stagger when they come into town. So
yes.
Every player stays in town the same number of days. So it's not like the linemen are waiting around for extra days.
Yeah.
So if you're looking, I mean, there's a lot of guys to be interested in here. But day by day, on Thursday, I'm interested to see how Michael Williams of Georgia and Texas A&M's Shamar Stewart do in the drills, not just the 40-yard dash, although that's important, but also like the agility drills and the 3-cone drills and so on that show their change of direction skills. Those are two guys, especially Shamar Stewart, who, I mean, they're off the charts athletically. And Shamar Stewart is like 6'5", 280 pounds and moves in ways that a man that size shouldn't be able to move. But their production doesn't blow you away. And there's always that concern when you're evaluating prospects between production and their athletic skills, and I think it makes some talent evaluators nervous about taking a guy like Shamar Stewart, who had exactly 1.5 sacks in each of his 3 seasons in the NFL, and assuming that because of what he can do physically, that he's going to be much more productive at the next level. That does happen all the time. I think of Travon Walker with Georgia to Jacksonville a couple years ago, who's turned out pretty good. It doesn't happen every time. And so I think when you see these guys working out, it's sometimes you see, what if Shamar Stewart goes there and just blows away every drill and vertical leap and long jump, and you're like, this guy's rising up your board. And so, you wonder about those type of guys. And I do think they can help themselves quite a bit at the combine. On Friday, when you're watching the DBs, a guy I'm very interested to see how he does is another guy who's just freakishly athletic, and that's South Carolina safety Nick Amanwari. And the thing that I'm interested about in him is he is all over mock drafts. If you go down a list of mock drafts on any given day, you open one, he's not even in there, and then you open another one and he's 12th overall. I mean, he's just all over the board. And so that reflects how different people view his. So
this could be something that maybe coalesces some of that.
Yeah, if he blows it up, maybe the people that weren't putting him in the first round now are finding a spot for him. And then Saturday, of course, you have the quarterbacks. It sounds like, well, it's for sure that Shadur Sanders is not going to throw. I'm pretty sure that Cam Ward's not going to throw. They don't really need to. Yeah. The top quarterbacks every year just don't throw anymore. But how about a guy like Jackson Dart?
Great name for a quarterback.
It is a great name. And he is probably considered the 3rd quarterback, but he won't probably go in the first round, but maybe he could sneak in the first round.
We always watch how you never know. Sometimes there's those random runs.
Yep. Yeah, or he could at least cement himself as a probable 2nd round pick with a really good day, just if he can show off all the arm talent and being able to make every throw. So that's interesting. And then one other guy that I'm really interested on that day is Arizona running back Cam Arizona or Arizona State? No, I can't remember. Anyway, Cam Scatterbo. I don't know if you saw his last playoff game, but he did everything. Like, he threw a touchdown and he ran. He's breaking off long runs, and
we know how the NFL has loved these kind of guys in recent years too, the do-it-all.
Yeah, and he's been described as kind of a Mike Allstott type. I'm just throwing that out there for Bucs fans.
Interesting.
I mean,
if Mike Allstott also threw some touchdowns.
Mike Allstott was a high 2nd round pick for the Buccaneers. I don't know. I find him very interesting. He's insanely productive, extremely confident, just a really charismatic guy, and he can do it all. But is he? If he comes to the combine and tests better than people expected,
He could
it's
rise,
a guy that
yeah.
could maybe at least say for sure he's going to be a day 2 pick and not a day 3 pick. And then finally on Sunday, Gray Zabel. We know Cody Mauk, obviously. Tackle at North Dakota State, converted to guard, and and really came on in his second season. And this is another North Dakota
Cody
State tackle,
2.0.
Yeah.
who just absolutely dominated at the Senior Bowl, which is great because that's going against Division I guys, but it's not everybody comes to the Senior Bowl. Like the top prospects don't. Now you're going to be mixing in with all of the top prospects at the guard position. Let's see how he compares to them there. So this is a guy that I think is probably going to be a first-round pick. Seems to be going on draft boards, but he could really help himself with a combine to follow up his Senior Bowl.
I like it. All right, so there's some things to watch each of the days that we got drills going on. And then next up on our news, we realized that since our last show especially, and just when things became official to where we could talk about it, there have been a few coaching staff changes or title changes, moving people around. So we wanted to go through that a little bit. We have Mike Caldwell, who returns as an inside linebacker coach. He has been here with us before, which I always love when we get a second stint with guys that we really enjoy and like. And so that's one of them. I know we had already talked about Kefense Hinson in the past. And then Larry Foote, now he is going to be moving to outside linebackers and run game coordinator. He has done the outside linebacker part before, the run game, and then also he's been part of the whole co-defensive coordinator role under Todd Bowles, so that's one. And then George Edwards, who had been outside linebackers, has moved to pass game coordinator. And then Jeff Castle has moved to assistant tight end coach, and Jordan Somerville to pass game specialist and assistant quarterback coach. So some promotions, some changes, some things there. So really, of those people that we talked about, Mike Caldwell's the only one that is a new addition from last year's staff, but not totally new to Bucs fans. So.
Right. Well, and the first time Mike Caldwell was here on Bruce Arians' staff from 2019 to 2021, both Levante David, Devin White earned second-team Associated Press, All-Pro honors, and then Larry Foote, when he was with outside linebackers, I think in his first 3 seasons, so in 2019 to 2021, he played a role in the development of Shaq Barrett and JPP. So, and obviously he's a guy that I think anywhere in this building, you know it's him before you can see him, but all the players seem to really respond to Larry Foote.
Yeah, I feel like Larry could coach any position.
Yeah, I agree. Let's just
put
move
him in
him
the
around the
quarterback room.
defense.
Yeah, throw him
everywhere.
anywhere. Who knows? I like it. All right, so next it's time for trivia time. We did not get a Stump Scott's question, so again.
I get beaten once, and then, I mean,
They
is
were
that
like,
it?
that's it. Call it a day. Let's end on
Never
that.
again.
Yeah, so fans, if you want to Stump Scott, please send either to Bri or myself on social media your idea for a Stump Scott question. But until that time, you, sir, can help us with our trivia now. So, Bri, read the question. We'll see if we all know it.
Only 3 times in Buccaneers draft history has the team selected 2 players from the same school with consecutive picks in the same draft. The most recent was in 2012. Name the 2 players and their school.
I'll give you a hint.
Your hints are usually not helpful for the record.
One of those 2 players is on our staff.
Oh, that does feel like a helpful hint. Interesting.
Somewhere on our staff.
Somewhere on our staff. We have a large staff, so that isn't as helpful.
Well,
as I
that's not
originally-
me.
You said it, and I was like, ooh. Now I'm like, I don't know. So, all right, we are also doing our free agent deep dives, even though with the combine going on, of course, the draft is kind of front of mind because of that, but free agency is coming sooner than the draft. So we have been going through some of the guys on the team who are potential free agents to see whether or not the team might be bringing them back, what it would mean if they do, what it would mean if they don't. So we've noticed how there's, of course, as always, several positions that have multiple guys, which is always really interesting depending on if you keep both, lose both, keep one. So defensive line is another one that has multiple of these guys. So we have Will Golston and Greg Gaines. So tell us our thoughts on what this could look like from a free agency deep dive standpoint.
Well, Will, I think, is kind of like Levante in recent
Yeah.
years. He's just been going year to year.
Yeah, one of the longest tenured
So he's
Bucs.
only 13 years, I think. One behind Levante. But in recent years, kind of going 1-year contracts at a time, which leads you to believe each year he's reassessing, does he want to keep going? But obviously this team has valued him for such a long time. And he's just been kind of the quiet contributor for his entire career. And he has, at various times during his career, reshaped his body because they wanted him to play a different role. And then a few years later, we get a new coaching staff and they want him to play this role instead. And he's always just quietly done it and just been a rock there for the Buccaneers. And it's hard to believe this, but Will Golston has played more games than any defensive lineman in franchise history. And you know, whenever he does decide to hang the cleats up, I think we'll probably have to make sure we give him the appreciation that he deserves. But, we'd all love to see him. I love him in the locker room, so I'd love to see him back. We'll see what happens. And Greg Gaines, we kind of had the same depth along the defensive line for the past 2 seasons.
Right.
They brought them all back last year, so that shows you that they value them as depth. So we'll see. Greg Gaines obviously has been able to fill in at a number of spots on the interior line. So it's interesting to see if we'll bring the same crew of defensive linemen back.
Yeah. Right. Well, and Greg Gaines has been the primary sub for Vita Vea, nose tackle, which is not a small feat. But when Vita Vea has missed time, I mean, there hasn't been a drop-off with him and Kalijah Cansey, but also I think he's played a really big role in, like Vita Vea, in limiting the run game of opposing teams and also being kind of a critical component in goal line situations. I feel like he's stopped numerous times or tush pushes or quarterback sneaks. He's been a key component of that. So been a big
nice
impact.
play right there against the Commanders.
And let's not forget his 1 career interception. That's always my favorite stat to bring
Will
up.
also has 1 career interception.
Oh, sorry. That's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Is Will.
I thought you'd been.
Sorry, I was talking about Will.
Yeah, and he got it
Will
like
got
12 years into his career.
Yeah. That on the 12th year, that was when he finally got it. I really enjoyed that.
I bet he's got that
Better
ball.
late than never.
And Will is coming on the Bucs cruise that leaves next week, and that'll be his first
And so
time
are you,
on the
right?
cruise. And so am I. That we will be heading down there a week from today, and Will is going to be part of it for the first time. And I feel like it was really cool to watch when they announced he was joining. That Bucs fans do really know and appreciate his longevity, his contributions, and he's got a great personality. So I feel like Cruise Will is going to be the perfect choice. And then for our off-field human interest side, I just wanted to make sure everyone knows that now the applications are open for the 6th annual She Is Football Scholarship. So we did change the name this year, but it is the same scholarship that's been going on for 6 years, and it's just an incredible program. So it's available to female high school seniors nationwide who have played a form of organized football and earned a minimum 3.0 grade point average during their high school career and plan to enroll full-time at an accredited 4-year college or university. So if either this is you or this is someone you know, you can apply. Visit Buccaneers.com/community, and the applications are open until April 18th. So incredible program. Again, the Bucs have just done so much within the flag football space, supporting women in sports, girls in sports. And so please, if this is, again, applies to you or anyone you know, send them the link, let them know about this scholarship because it's a great opportunity for
Absolutely.
sure. Okay, we're going to close with our trivia answer that I 100% did not come up with in the few minutes since we talked about it. I've been busy, though, in my defense.
The person I was referencing is on the coaching staff.
Okay.
So who's a former player on our coaching staff?
But for us,
Yeah.
Q, Keith
Coach
Tandy.
Q
Keith
isn't
Tandy.
coaching though. Keith Tandy, look at that. It's a great answer.
The Buccaneers selected West Virginia linebacker Najee Good and safety Keith Tandy in the 5th and 6th rounds in 2012.
West Virginia.
Out of West Virginia. Good job. Yeah.
I got
Nice.
half.
Partial credit.
I got half.
Partial credit.
Partially because Tandy just wears West Virginia stuff still all the time. So
Yeah.
that really was a little helpful.
And our man in communications, Michael Panic.
Oh, yes.
Also
all
proud.
the time.
The
Very
other two,
proud
just to
ones.
be complete here, the other 2 times that the Buccaneers drafted college teammates with consecutive picks. The first one was in 1997 with Ricky Bell and running back Ricky Bell and linebacker Dave Lewis out of USC, which was not a surprise because we had gotten our head coach, John McKay, from USC. And there was a very talented USC team in that era. And so we had a lot of USC grads in the early years. And then in 2010, we drafted Virginia Tech punter Brent Bowden and then his teammate Cody Grimm, safety Cody Grimm, in the 6th and 7th rounds.
We also, I can think of in my times where we drafted 2 guys from the same school, just not the back-to-back
That's
part.
the part, yeah.
And that's the part that's so key. But I
A
was
lot of
thinking,
Washington guys.
yeah, a lot of Washington guys.
Just a few.
And then also I remember even thinking about Antoine Winfield and Tyler Johnson.
That's right, yeah.
From
Minnesota.
that year, from Minnesota. But yeah, all right, well, that was a fun trivia question. We'd prefer a stump Scott. We would. As fun as that was.
I'm 2.8 out of 3.
2.8.
Right?
like
Because
it.
I got 80%.
You
of
did.
what
You got
I missed.
80% of it. We'll allow it. So we want to fully stump Scott because we want him to get 0%. That's the idea. So send us those stump Scott questions. Thanks again for being with us, and we'll see you next time.